Hey there, everyone. It's week 6 of the college football season, or at least in the SEC. Auburn coming off a 35-28 road win over Ole Miss. On deck, LSU. Time to go head to head.
Let's go now. Let's go now. Can't stop us. Let's go now.
All right, we want to give a shout out to our sponsor this week, All South Appliance Group. We appreciate you. And of course, we appreciate Cole Cubelic with ESPN and WJOX for hanging out with us and breaking this thing down. And Cole, we'll start on the offensive side of the football. We saw some improvement. We saw some good things from them against Ole Miss, and now they come back home in a big game against LSU this week. And so, we'll start on the offensive side of the football. Obviously, some concerns there with some injuries that they've been dealing with on the offensive line. Brandon Council out with a season-ending knee injury. Andre Jones expected to fill in at right guard for him. Austin Troxell, not sure where he stands right now. But overall, when you look at this offensive line, how are you feeling about things and the improvements that we're maybe seeing from them here in the midway point of the season?
Well, I did think you were seeing some improvements. I thought they had taken steps, and you were seeing guys really work together better. The chemistry, the continuity was a little bit better with that group. But losing Brandon Council is massive. This is a young man that, talking to people inside the program, really sort of set the tone for that group once practice began. Think about it. He's a veteran of the group. Maybe not in an Auburn uniform, but just as far as overall snaps played, he is the veteran of that Auburn offensive line. And he played right guard, he played left guard, he played right tackle. And then I think also he played a little bit of overload, sort of tight end next to the tackle when Auburn would go unbalanced at times. So 4 different positions or places that he had played up front, and now he's not going to be there. Coach Malzahn told us last week that he may actually be their backup center in that Ole Miss game, depending on the situation, where they were and where they were in a drive of the game or the score, things like that. So he's really a big loss. And I think he was a big reason why they were beginning to play a little bit better. So he'll be tough to replace. I like the plan offensively against Ole Miss. I thought Chad Morris did a nice job of saying, hey, if Bo Nix is going to run around, if he wants to use his legs, if that makes him feel more comfortable, then let's just design some of it for him. Let's try to get him involved in the game plan with that part of what he does well a little bit earlier. And when we design it, we have a better chance to be successful with it.
Yeah, no doubt. And DJ Williams also has been banged up. He is expected to play according to Gus Malzahn. You talk about that LSU defense. Definitely looks a little different than what Dave Aranda dialed up. Bo Pelini kind of has a different look. LSU, though, has allowed 17 plays of 20-plus yards. That's a big stat line. That's tied for 92nd right now in the country, ahead of just 6 FBS teams that I guess have played 4 or more games at this point in the season. It's a little bit confusing trying to keep up with that now that we've got other conferences coming into the mix. But with that being said, can Auburn take advantage of this and try to create some momentum with some explosive plays? Because I think that's what Auburn wants to get back to, that identity, run the football, and then create some of those explosive plays and maybe take a little pressure off of Bo Nix. Like you talked about last week, that was going to be key for them, and they did a good job of it.
If you're going to do that, you have to protect. And this is where not having Brandon Council obviously becomes big, but maybe a guy like J.J. Pegues, who had a couple of big blocks last week, is somebody who can help you out in protection a little bit more and offer you some more protection. You're going to get some man coverage. Now, bad news is LSU has guys who are pretty good at man coverage, mainly Derek Stingley. I would expect to see him on 18 a lot during the course of this game. But Bo Pelini's been aggressive. He's been aggressive all year. He's going to bring pressure packages. He's going to come after you. He's going to try to force you to get the football out. If Auburn can handle that up front, if they can maintain that pressure early, give Bo Nix a little extra time to operate, and if Bo Nix can understand pressure's coming and not to just panic right away, find that calm and understand where the ball needs to go, then I think they have a chance to do some things and move the football a little bit. It's a defense that got B.J. Olarji really going last week off the edge. He's a freshman, and I know they're high on. Everybody looks at Ali Gay and thought he was going to be the big pass rusher this year. Now Ojulari looks like he might actually be the guy that can really wreak havoc off the edge. So there are a couple of really talented defenders that LSU brings to the table. Protecting the quarterback is going to be key, but it all starts with the run game, because Malzahn and Chad Morris are both going to want to get that going early. And if you can provide play action and freeze the linebackers, maybe force a defense not to be able to bring as much pressure as early, that's going to be advantageous for Bo Nix and the Auburn offense.
All right, we flipped the script to the defensive side of the football, and when we key in on LSU's offense, the big storyline, starting quarterback Miles Brennan dealing with a torn abdomen muscle. Coach seems to think he's better off than he was a week ago. It's healing. Still not sure he's 100%. True freshman TJ Finley, strong performance against South Carolina. He came out and played well. Now, Coach said we're not going to give the starting job to TJ Finley if Miles Brennan is 100%. But we feel confident in Finley being able to get the job done in the event that Miles Brennan's not ready to go. Just your thoughts on what they have on the offensive side of the football and how they match up with this Auburn defense at this point in the season.
Now, I think the first thing you look at is how successful they were against an underrated South Carolina defensive line running the football a week ago. I really feel like freshman tight end Aaron Gilbert has done an excellent job providing a little bit more physicality. He has really welcomed the blocking that comes with playing tight end in this offense. Not a lot of freshman tight ends that can flex out and have a big catch radius and can run are really willing to get in there and mix it up and be physical. Gilbert has been that and has really improved across the course of the season. I think the offensive line's finally getting healthy. They're getting the 5 that they like in there. Ed Ingram had a big game for that group last week, and you saw both backs really run hard. I don't think they lose much with either quarterback. I don't think Kevin Steele has to design a different plan, whether it's Miles Brennan or whether it's TJ Finley, because to me, they're pretty much the same guy. They're going to operate in the pocket. They're going to make quick throws. They're accurate. Both can stretch the field. And LSU has weapons at wide receiver. It's going to be a big game for the Auburn secondary. Obviously, Terrace Marshall's having a big year. Dre Jenkins is a guy that Coach O's pointed out as they want to get him the football a little bit more. It's going to start with stopping the run, because if LSU gets that going, then everybody's a little bit more comfortable. And I'll be interested to see the plan that Kevin Steele breaks out, because that part caused a lot of headaches last year. You remember sort of that 3-1 defense that Kevin Steele busted out last year that no one had ever seen. It wasn't on film anywhere, and Joe Burrow was caught off guard by it early. Still able to find a way to win that game. But I expect Kevin Steele to show something different that maybe hasn't been out there this season to potentially give a young quarterback some headaches.
Yeah, it's worth noting LSU averages 6.6 yards per play behind Alabama and LSU in the SEC. Big stat line there. Of course, they've got 2 guys that run the football well, Davis Price as well as John Emery Jr. So will be an interesting matchup for sure. So Auburn, obviously in this matchup, how things go down, they get LSU at home. Obviously, we saw some good things against Ole Miss, some promising things. If they can continue that momentum, that brings me to my score prediction, and I'm going to give Auburn the edge in this. I know a lot of people say that I always go with Auburn, but I do feel confident that them being at home, some things that they can do, and some things that we saw against Ole Miss on the road, a better Bo Nix on the road. Can he bring that back home and obviously get the protection like you talked about at the top of the show? I got Auburn winning 30-27. What about you, Cole?
Yeah, I'm going to go LSU. I think this offense is just too much. I think defensively there's enough talent. I think they have the bodies to be able to neutralize a Seth Williams, which is massive. I mean, he is really what makes this offense go outside of Tank Bigsby. I don't think it's going to be a tremendously high-scoring game. I'm going to go 28-14. LSU finds a way to sort of pull away late. We know the last 2 times these teams played and they weren't ranked was the old cigar game, which is one that we've talked about a few times. So weird to go into this game and not have these 2 teams being discussed as ranked or in the top 10 or in the college football playoff discussion. I just think top to bottom LSU has a little bit too much talent this year.
Yeah, you're right about that. It is definitely a different discussion this year, indeed, on both sides of the football. Auburn again, home against LSU, kicking off on TBS, 2:30 p.m. Cole, you'll be at Kentucky, right? Kentucky, Georgia, 11 a.m. Central Time kickoff on SEC Network. So check that out, and you can flip the channel to CBS. We appreciate all of you guys for watching. And, of course, we appreciate our sponsor, All South Appliance Group, proud sponsor of Head to Head, inviting you to visit us online at myallsouth.com or at any one of our showrooms in Alabama, Tennessee, and Florida.
It's guaranteed that I die legend. Yeah, son God, homie, I'm reverend. Preach, just protecting my investment. Ask about me, integrity's not in question.